You know, there comes a point where you can no longer keep making excuses for people's ignorance. There comes a point where you can no longer keep saying, oh, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're ignorant. And as we know, ignorance is bliss, right? But it comes a point where you can no longer say, oh, they're just brainwashed. They're just indoctrinated. You can't keep making excuses for people being ignorant, you know? And it's sad. It's so sad how Jehovah's Witnesses, they will clearly see red flags in this organization. They will clearly see that things are not adding up, things are not making sense, better yet. And yet they will still blindly believe in the organization. They will still blindly believe in the governing body leaders, even when things don't make sense, right? Now, a Jehovah's Witness will say, oh, Jerron, well, this is why you need to have a humble attitude. You need to be humble and patiently wait. Even if things don't make sense, Jehovah has a plan. A Jehovah's Witness would say that, right? And then I would say, well, if you want to have a quote unquote humble attitude and patiently rely on Jehovah, you go ahead and do that. But you know what happens when you do that? Let me tell you what happens when you have a quote unquote humble attitude and you patiently rely on the governing body leaders, you patiently rely on Jehovah and just wait, even when things don't make sense. Let me tell you what happens. Your entire life passes you by. And before you know it, you are an elderly person scratching your head, wondering, hold on, where the hell is paradise? I just gave my entire life to this organization. My entire life, they've been talking about paradise is right around the corner. We're living in the last days. And now I'm an elderly person. And my life is about to pass me. My life is about to pass me by. That's what happens when you have a quote unquote humble attitude and you patiently wait. You're gonna be patiently waiting for decades. You're gonna be patiently waiting until the day that you die. And I'm starting to think that Jehovah's Witnesses are a bit slow. I hate to use the word dumb, but I'm a realist. I'm just being real, right? Because when you clearly hear things that don't make sense, when you hear a governing body leader contradicting what they said years ago, right? Keep in mind, truth never changes. Truth never changes, right? If something is the truth today, it shouldn't be something completely different tomorrow. So when Jehovah's Witnesses hear things that don't make sense, for instance, when they hear of when they hear of people, governing body leaders saying to their members, to the men, oh, you men can now grow out facial hair. Right away, common sense should have kicked in. And every Jehovah's Witness should have been like, hold on, what do you mean we can now grow facial hair? What do you mean? I thought we didn't have facial hair because I thought we wanted to be completely different from the world. What do you mean we can now toast? That's pagan. Once again, I thought we were supposed to be different from the world. I thought we were supposed to be no part of the world. And now soon people are talking about birthdays and holidays, possibly. Can you imagine that? If witnesses could celebrate birthdays and holidays in the near future? Meanwhile, the hallmark of being a witness, right? Growing up in the 80s and 90s, witnesses were known to not celebrate holidays and birthdays. Think about all the Sophia and Caleb videos that they posted where they couldn't even lick the frosting. They couldn't even have a damn cupcake at a birthday party. And now in the future, they can easily, the governing body leaders can easily just snap their fingers and change the policy. And you will have millions of Jehovah's Witnesses around the globe celebrating birthdays and holidays just because a group of men gave them permission to do so. Meanwhile, all their lives, witnesses been telling people, oh, we were different. We don't believe in that. We will never celebrate birthdays or holidays. Never. Never. because we are no part of Satan's system. So if they were to change the policies, right? How can a Jehovah's Witness look at somebody in the eye and say, oh yeah, well, we now celebrate birthdays and holidays. But I thought that you guys didn't do that because you said that was part of Satan's system. That was a quote unquote worldly thing to do, celebrate birthdays and holidays. So how come you guys could do it now when you guys made it a big deal, a big issue, a big deal all this time? You know, it's sad that Jehovah's Witnesses, they keep making excuses for the governing body leaders. And instead of saying, hey, this is not adding up. I don't like what I'm reading in this watchtower. I want to discuss this. You cannot raise your hand during a watchtower study and disagree with the article. You can't raise your hand and say, you know what, I don't agree with this at all. This is, no, I don't like what I'm reading in this article. You can't have an open discussion. You have to mimic everything you read. You have to literally agree with everything, even if it doesn't make sense. To me, anyone who would stay in that, even when you have doubts, I'm talking about people who would stay their entire life. Just because they have their community, just because they feel like they have quote unquote friends, right? Their family's in it. This is their upbringing. So they stay in it until the day that they die. Even when their entire life they had doubts. You know how foolish that is? So that means your entire life, you're going to be riddled with questions. Your entire life, you're going to have doubts and questions that you're never going to explore. That means you're going to die without even knowing the real truth about your organization. All because you was too scared to jump out of your comfort zone, too scared to find a new community. Because if you need to be in a community where you have to hide yourself, and every Jehovah's Witness, I'm talking about every single Jehovah's Witness, they have to hide themselves. I'm talking about their true selves. Because you can't be your true self as a Jehovah's Witness. You cannot be authentic and real and a Jehovah's Witness at the same time. Because if you have to agree with things that internally you disagree with, you're not being real with yourself. If you can't tell your close family members and friends, hey guys, I don't believe in this organization. I don't believe in what they're preaching anymore. They keep changing policies. They keep making excuses with the new light. This religion is not making sense anymore. If you can't say that to your Jehovah's Witness family and friends, then guess what? And you cannot say that, actually. As we know, you can't be real. You can't be real with your family and friends in the witness world, right? So since you cannot do that, then it's time to find a new community where you can be your true self, where you can tell people, hey, listen, I got doubts about this, and this. I got concerns. People need a community where they can be their true selves. And like I said, you can't do that. You can't do that as a Jehovah's Witness, right? You cannot do that as a Jehovah's Witness. You know, Jehovah's Witnesses, they keep hearing things that don't make sense. You know, for instance, not just the Tosa, but even when it comes to pursuing secular education, right? All this time, Jehovah's Witnesses, they would have told you, oh, don't go to college. Why would you want to go to college when the end of the world is right around the corner? Why even think about pursuing secular education when the end is right around the corner? And now, just because the governing body leaders gave them permission to do so, right? Now you're going to have a bunch of people who can't think for themselves, right? Now you're going to have a bunch of people who refuse to think for themselves. Now they're going to go to college only because the governing body leaders gave them the green light to do so, right? But hold on. Like I just said, all this time, Jehovah's Witnesses, they wasn't going to college. They wasn't pursuing secular education because they really thought that the end was right around the corner, right? So if the governing body leaders are giving you permission to go to college now, the first thing a witness should have said was, well, hold on. Why are they giving us the green light now? I thought the end was right around the corner. It takes years to get a diploma, to get a degree, right? It takes years to graduate from college. Years. So if it takes years, why would the governing body leaders give the witnesses green light when the end is right around the corner? If they're supposedly living in the final parts of the last days, why would the governing body leaders now tell witnesses to go to pursue a secular education where it takes years to get a degree? Does that make sense? If the end is right around the corner. Also, the governing body leaders, they clearly, they make announcements, when they make announcements on their broadcast, I wonder, are witnesses really not just listening, but thinking? And it's obvious that these people are not using their brains at all. They're just listening. They're listening to whatever the governing body leaders are saying without clearly thinking about it. Because when you use your common sense and you think about something clearly, you would clearly see that this is not adding up. What they're saying and what they're doing, two different things, right? Now, if the governing body leaders, once again, if they're saying that the end is right around the corner, right? We're living in the final parts. Why are they building studio projects, entertainment projects to produce videos? They clearly said that they spent millions of dollars on a Rambo Pro project, right? Millions of dollars. Does that make sense? Better yet, why would they admit to spending millions of dollars on a studio project, right? But yet, also ask the rank and file to make monthly payments? So you have that tells me that the governing body leaders clearly have money, right? This is a $1 billion corporation. They have billions, right? But why would you ask the rank and file for financial assistance when you already have billions? They just admitted to spending millions on their damn Rambo Pro project. So why, if you have billions, right? But if you have money to make a studio project for entertainment, why are you asking the rank and file, people who are barely making ends meet? Because as we know, most witnesses have not invested in their future, because most witnesses think that the end is right around the corner. But this is why it's mandatory to use your brain. This is why it's mandatory. Because think about it. Why are they building multi-million-dollar studio projects, right? Media projects, when the end is right around the corner? That makes no sense. That makes no sense. All these things that's going on right now, all these minor changes, the beards, toasting, people can now go to college. All this is minor. Every Jehovah's Witness should be scratching their head like, we don't care about these minor changes. We care about paradise. You guys have been talking about paradise for 150 years. Where's paradise? That's what we want to know. Where is paradise? But instead, instead, you have witnesses focusing on the wrong thing. And that's how I know that these witnesses, they really don't care about truth. Every Jehovah's Witness, just like they have in the past, right? But every Jehovah's Witness is going to die believing in a lie. And that's a fact. That's a fact. These people are going to see their caskets before they see paradise. And if you don't believe me, why would a loving God have people wait 150 years, literally born and raised in this organization, just to grow old and die? Like I always say, that is not a loving God. That is not a loving God. Somebody knows you are patiently waiting for paradise. If God is almighty, all powerful, right? And once again, the governing body leader said that anyone can have last minute repentance. That should have woken up every single Jehovah's Witness. Every single Jehovah's Witness should have been like, hold on. Where's this information coming from if you guys are not even inspired by God? So, with all this being said, I am really starting to think that Jehovah's Witnesses are a bit on the slow side, to be honest. You can't keep making excuses. Oh, they're just indoctrinated, they're brainwashed. No. This is beyond that. This is beyond that. Because you have millions of witnesses around the world giving their entire life to a religion that they can't even prove is true. And check this out. Then they get mad at you, right? Then Jehovah's Witnesses get mad at anybody who encourages them to use their brain, do their research, and to think critically. They get mad at the people encouraging them to use their brain. But the people who are lying to them, the governing body leaders who are lying to them and constantly changing the rules, the witnesses, they don't mind that at all. We like being lied to. We like slaving and serving for a man-made organization, even when things don't make sense. Yeah, they said that, back in the day, we all know you couldn't wear beards, but the governing body leaders said it's okay now, so we're going to blindly believe the governing body leaders, even when it doesn't make sense. So if that's the mindset that witnesses have, and that is the mindset, don't get it twisted, that is their mindset. A Jehovah's Witness will lie and say, oh, we serve Jehovah, we don't serve the governing body leaders. Shut the fuck up. Excuse my French, but shut up. At the end of the day, Jehovah's Witnesses will always, always, always listen to the governing body leaders, even when they don't make sense. To me, that's dumb. Because everybody we all have our own individual brain. Everybody should be thinking, not collectively, because Jehovah's Witnesses, they think collectively, right, as a group. In fact, the dumber you are, the better for the organization. They don't want people that's going to ask questions. They don't want people that's going to think critically. They want people that's going to blindly believe until they grow old and pass away. And it's sad that when people are born in this organization, right, you will literally hear stories of, oh, my great-grandparents was witnesses. My grandparents was witnesses. My parents was witnesses. They all passed away. They all said that the end was right around the corner. They all thought that they were living in the last days, and they all died without making it to paradise. And it's sad that generation after generation after generation, people are just blindly believing this organization just because their parents was in it. Because their parents are just dropping it down from generation to generation, right? And no one's stopping to ask questions. Even when this religion don't make sense anymore. This is not the same religion from the 90s. It's not. So when shit don't make sense, right? When things no longer make sense. And Jehovah's Witnesses, right? This is the difference with ex-witnesses and current witnesses. Ex-witnesses, we saw that things was not adding up. We did our research. Oh, wow, this is not the truth. This is why they don't want us to go online. This is why they don't want us to talk to apostates. This is Jehovah's Witnesses. This is why. They don't want people to think critically. They want you to be in an organization where you're surrounded by other like-minded individuals who don't think, who don't ask questions, who just blindly believe. They grow old, give them their money, and then you die. But before you die, the governing body leaders, they want your reoccurring payments. They want your assets. They don't just want your life and your obedience. They want everything you have, even after you die. I just don't get it. I don't see how people can clearly see that this is not it. But yet they continue to blindly believe anyway. That makes no sense to me. Because you're living a lie for a life. And all you're going to do is just grow old. You're going to have nothing but regrets later. Nothing but regrets later when paradise don't come. And it hits you that you wasted your entire life chasing a carrot. You wasted your entire life chasing a pipe dream. Just like they have been for the last 150 years. So yeah, I'm starting to think that Jehovah's Witnesses are a bit slow, a bit dumb, to be honest. If you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this video, trust me, I'm not bashing you. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just keeping it a buck. If you hear things from your leaders that don't make sense, and every Jehovah's Witness they know. Growing up in the 80s and 90s, we never spoke about money. That distinguished us from the Catholics and other religions. Because other religions would pass out plates, during the church meetings. Jehovah's Witnesses, growing up, we never spoke about money. Now the governing body leaders are giving talks about making reoccurring payments. They're giving talks about Jehovah loves a cheerful giver. In other words, give us your money and your obedience. Give us everything you have. This is how you know it's a man-made organization. This is how you know it's not the truth. Because this organization should mimic Christ. The governing body leaders, they don't give a damn thing to their members. There's no food banks. There's no financial assistance. They're quick to ask you, the rank and file, for money. But it's never the other way around. And keep in mind, they have billions. Billions. They want your donations on a weekly basis. But you can't turn around and be like, hey, billion-dollar organization that I've been giving donations my entire life. I'm in a pickle. I've been helping you guys out, giving something in every meeting for the last 20 plus years. But now I'm in a pickle. I need some assistance. I need some financial assistance. Do you think they're going to help you? But what do I know? I'm just a mentally diseased, evil, wicked apostate, right? This is why they don't want Jehovah's Witnesses to speak to ex-members. This is why they don't want Jehovah's Witnesses to do their research. They don't want people to think critically. They want people to be as dumb as possible. The more dumb you are, the more you don't use your critical thinking skills, the more you don't ask questions. Those are the type of people they want. Because it's easy to coerce those people. It's easier to deceive those people. When people just blindly believe without asking questions, those are the people that you could pull a fast one over those people easily. But people who ask questions, people who want to know the real truth, people who don't want to waste their entire life waiting for a pipe dream that they've been talking about for 150 years? Nah. Hell no. They don't want those people. Because people like me, we're going to cause a ruckus if we were able to have a heart-to-heart with a witness. I will ask witnesses questions that they never thought about before. The governing body leaders, they don't want that. They don't want that at all. So it's easier for them to tell the witnesses, don't speak to people like Jerron who ask questions. Don't speak to people like Jerron who's going to stand up for himself. Who's going to express his doubts. Don't communicate with him at all, because then you're going to express your doubts. Then you're going to start to ask questions, and you're going to bring more people out of this organization. And we want people to be as lost in the sauce as possible. We want unintelligent people. And it's sad that witnesses, they give their entire life without even thinking about this. You know what I really don't understand? How any parent could allow their children to die over a no blood doctrine, right? Meanwhile, you can't even do your research to verify that this is the truth. So you have people dying for this religion and allowing their children to die, right? But yet, you can't even verify it before you die, before you allow your children to die. Can you at least do your research and make sure that you have the truth without blindly believing? To me, that's dumb. It's so dumb how people are literally giving their entire life to this organization without even making sure that this really is the truth. So yeah, we're getting past the point where I can no longer say that Jehovah's Witnesses, they're just indoctrinated. They're just brainwashed. No. I'm really starting to think these people are dumb, because they are clearly seeing red flags. They are seeing that things are not making sense. This religion is not adding up. They're only in it. Jehovah's Witnesses are only in it, like I said, because Most of them were either born and raised in this, or they spent decades wasted in this organization already. They're already in their comfort zone. They don't want to have to come to the conclusion, oh, this is not the truth. That means I'm going to have to leave this organization to start over again. So what? Starting over again is way better than remaining stagnant in a false religion. And I can't speak for everybody. I wish I could, but me personally, I don't want no fake friends in my life. I'd rather have real hate than fake love. I'd rather you hate me for being real. I'd rather you hate me for asking questions. I'd rather you hate me for being intelligent and using my critical thinking skills as best as possible than for you to love me for being fake and blindly believing in a lie that you know, every Jehovah's Witness, they know paradise should have been here already. You keep talking about end of days, paradise is right around the corner. How long can you say that? Seriously, how long can you talk about the end of times, paradise right around the corner? How long can you say that and paradise don't come, and then you feel stupid 50 years from now when you gave your entire life? For what? Just to say, oh, I was an elder, I was a publisher, I was a pioneer, I was a minister servant, I was a circuit overseer. Okay, cool, but what else did you do with your life? How many real friends did you have in your life before you passed away? Oh, I was surrounded by 8 million brothers and sisters worldwide. Oh, you was. You don't say. You said you were surrounded by 8 million brothers and sisters. Can you have a heart-to-heart with these brothers and sisters? Can you tell them that, hey, you know what? I don't like what I heard in today's Watchtower. I don't like this new light that the governing body leaders have instructed us. I don't like that. Can you say that to your 8 million brothers and sisters? Oh, no, you can't? Because they're going to view you as a mentally diseased apostate? Then guess what? If you can't be real with your quote-unquote brothers and sisters, then those are not your real brothers and sisters. Those are not your real friends. That means you are living a lie for a life. That means your community, your family, and friends are all fake. They're fake. They're not your real brothers and sisters. And it's sad that this is the conclusion that a lot of people are going to come to realize in the near future. That they gave their entire life to this religion for nothing. For nothing. What did they get in return? Nothing. No real friends, no real family, no real community, no real support. It's all superficial. It's all conditional. It's all fake. It's all fake. So when Jehovah's Witnesses refuse to look at the red flags, when they refuse to do the research, when they refuse to think critically, to me that is dumb. It's dumb. Because they are giving up on the one life that we have. They're letting it waste away for a lie, for something that they can't even verify. If you have the truth, why are you scared to do your research? If you have the truth, why are you scared to talk to ex-members? You have the truth, right? Then why are you scared? That clearly tells you that you don't have the truth. If you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this video, view this as constructive criticism. Do your research and live your life authentic. Because as a Jehovah's Witness, we know you cannot be authentic and a Jehovah's Witness at the same time. You're either fake and a Jehovah's Witness, or you're real and you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses. But you cannot be real and a Jehovah's Witness. Doesn't exist. The two cannot coexist at the same time. Can't. Anyway, guys, I love you guys. I want every witness to wake up, live their lives authentically, because I promise you, you're going to have nothing but regrets later on. I'll see you guys on the next video.